This is the Sky News website. I'm just going to read from here the court reporting on Amelie McCann's testimony in the Crown versus Julia Wandelt and Karen Spragg Crown Court trial. So starting with 5 hours ago at 9:53 a.m. Madeleine's siblings to give evidence today. Jerry and Kate McCann's twins, Sean and Amelie, are due to give evidence at Leicester Crown Court today. During her evidence yesterday, Kate told the jury that Julia Wandelt contacting her daughter Amelie was the final straw that prompted her to call the police. Jerry also became emotional yesterday when he spoke about his children allegedly being contacted by Wandelt. "I was appalled," he said. "We had done our best to try to protect Sean and Amelie. Given what has happened to Madeleine, we tried to keep them out of the media as much as possible. We know they want to be identified as Sean and Amelie McCann and not missing Madeleine's brother and sister. As a parent, you want to try to protect your children. We know social media can be damaging and there's nasty stuff online about us. So obviously we want to protect them from that." At 10:19 a.m, court proceedings starting. The jury has been brought into the courtroom. Both the defendants, Julia Wandelt and Karen Spragg, are sitting quietly next to each other, listening to the court proceedings. The jury is being told that 6 fingerprints on a letter sent to the McCann's house match the fingerprints of Wandelt. 10:28 a.m. Doorbell footage from McCann's neighbour shown to court. The court is being read a statement from Alex Milton, a neighbour of the McCanns in Rothley, Leicestershire. He's speaking about the night of 7 December 2024, when defendants Julia Wandelt and Karen Spragg allegedly confronted Kate and Jerry McCann at their home. Milton says he noticed a woman sitting in a white car when he took his dog for a walk at around 6 p.m. He said he saw a woman in the car who he had not seen before, and that when he returned from his walk at 6:25 p.m, the car was still there. He said he thought it was strange and noticed the car was still there an hour later with the lights turned off. Footage from Milton's doorbell is then played to the court. 2 figures are seen walking past his door and walking back 2 minutes later. An hour and a half later, footage shows one figure, then another, moving back towards the McCann's house. Then at 7:50 p.m, they move back away again. A white car is then seen moving back and forth between the McCann's cul-de-sac and leaves the road at 8:37 p.m. 10:33 a.m. Amelie McCann, 20, has been called to give her evidence. 10:35 a.m. Wandelt messaged Amelie McCann on Facebook, court told. The jury is told that Amelie McCann was contacted via Facebook by Julia Wandelt and that in April 2024, Wandelt sent messages to her asking for her parents to respond to her. At this point, McCann joins the court video link from another location and says hello before confirming her identity. She says she was aware of Wandelt before she contacted her because it was in the media. "I think the police had got in touch with my parents about it," she says. McCann confirms that the first contact she received from Wandelt was in January 2024, where she'd been messaging me on social media. "10:46 a.m. I thought if I ignored the messages, it would be fine." Amelie McCann says that at first, she didn't tell anybody about Julia Wandelt contacting her Facebook. "I wasn't aware of the extent of her contact with my family," she tells the court. She says she didn't know that it would be considered stalking and says she thought that if I ignored the messages, that would be fine. McCann says she didn't want to cause additional stress to her family and that she was used to ignoring messages. 10:50 a.m. I am the girl who went viral. Amelie McCann reveals message from stalker in inverted commas. Amelie McCann is now speaking in more detail about the message sent to her on Facebook in January 2024. She says it was from a profile named Julia and that she soon realised this was the defendant, Julia Wandelt. The message allegedly read, "Hello, I'm this girl who went viral saying she thinks she is Madeleine McCann." Another message the court here says Wandelt had hypnosis sessions and flashbacks. "I know so many things," one message said. "I don't know if this is a real account for Amelie McCann, but I can tell you my memories." 10:55 a.m. Amelie McCann recalls creepy, in inverted commas, messages from women claiming to be Madeleine. The court hears from Amelie McCann that it was distressing for her to receive messages from Julia Wandelt. She says she felt uncomfortable because I didn't want to receive messages like that, and that Wandelt begged her not to block her profile on Facebook. It's quite disturbing. She's coming up with these supposed memories even though she's not Madeleine, Amelie says. It was quite distressing to see the messages. As you can see, it's a long message, and there's a sound of desperation in her message, which puts quite a lot of stress on me. She says one message from Wandelt read, "I know how I was calling you when we were playing once. I know what happened." Another message claimed memories with her and her twin brother Sean. "I remember playing Ring a Ring of Roses with other kids." It made me feel quite uncomfortable, quite creepy, McCann says, adding that sometimes messages would arrive on Instagram as well as Facebook. 11:01 a.m. I felt guilty, but I knew deep down it wasn't Madeleine. Amelie McCann says she didn't reply to the persistent messages from Julia Wandelt and her request for her mother, Kate McCann, to take a DNA test. She adds she didn't find it persuasive when Wandelt told her about her memories from childhood. It makes you feel guilty because she's quite desperate to connect and reach out to me. I knew deep down it wasn't Madeleine, McCann says. She adds some messages from Wandelt said she would do whatever is needed to prove her identity. It's a bit scary because you don't know what she'll do next, says Amelie. McCann says she became aware her mother had also had contact with Wandelt, at which point she told Kate McCann about the contact she'd also received. 11:10 a.m. Wandelt sent edited images of Amelie McCann to prove she was Madeleine, court hears. Julia Wandelt printed out pictures of her and of Amelie McCann and sent them to the McCann's home address in an attempt to prove she was Madeleine, the court hears. McCann says Wandelt posted a letter to her house that was addressed to her, in which the 24-year-old said McCann was her last hope and tried to persuade her that she was Madeleine. In another message sent online, McCann says Wandelt sent two images side by side. It made me feel very uncomfortable, she says. She'd clearly edited the pictures to make me look more like her, which was disturbing. I didn't look like that, and I knew it had been changed. (11:18 a.m) Kate McCann, harassed by Julia more than anyone, Amelie says. Amelie McCann says Julia Wandelt's alleged actions took the biggest toll on her mother, Kate McCann. I think my mum found it the hardest and was harassed by Julia more than the rest of us, she tells the court. I think it definitely took its toll on her. All the time her phone would be going off and it was Julia. McCann says it often played with her mother's emotions when Wandelt would say, "I am your daughter." Recounting the incident on 7 December 2024, when Wandelt and Karen Spragg allegedly confronted Kate and Jerry McCann at their home, she says her mother was very stressed and on edge. On one occasion, McCann says her mother told her, "I can't even go home anymore. I don't even know where to go." She says after the incident there was a lot more security in place around the house and that an alarm was set up that could be pressed to alert the police if Wandelt returned. The court hears it was a form of panic alarm. 11:23 a.m. It didn't make sense to me. Amelie McCann says she knew immediately that Julia Wandelt was not her missing sister Madeleine, as she claimed to be. I just knew it wasn't her, she tells the court. I have a feeling there would be something about her I would maybe recognise. She is Polish and has Polish family who are her parents. It didn't make any sense to me. McCann says she'd never received any contact from anyone claiming to be Madeleine before. Amelie McCann finishes giving her evidence at 11:26, this was reported. This is the last question to Amelie McCann, and her evidence comes to an end. Next we expect to hear from her twin brother, Sean. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe for all things Julia Wandelt.